So again, am I loud and clear? Kasi umuulan, masyadong malakas yung ulan. Clear naman, no? No?
Opo.
Okay. Since clear naman. Pwede pa. So we have the circular permutation. It refers to the different possible arrangement of objects in a circle. The number of permutations P of the n objects around the circle is given by P is equal to n minus 1 factorial. So let's have first let's have the example for circular permutation. So for number one, we have to calculate the circular permutation of 7 elements. So if the value of our n, okay, so if the value for number one, if the value of n is equal to 7, and the formula is permutation is equal to n minus 1 factorial. So therefore, 7 factorial. So we have that. Si Carol. Si Carol masyadong seryoso eh. Ina-enjoy niya ata yung lesson, yung discussant eh. Okay, so we have 7 minus 1, that is equal to 6, right? 6 factorial. So, do we need to expand it, diba? So, you can use scientific calculator. So, 6 factorial, that is equal to what?
720.
So, we have 720 ways. Okay, next, for our number 2. So, for our number 2, how many ways can 8 people sit around a round of table? So, we have the value of our n is equal to 8. And the formula is permutation of n minus 1 factorial. So therefore, we have 8 minus 1 factorial. So 8 minus 1, that is actually 7 factorial. So 7 factorial, using your scientific calculator, what's the answer?
5,000.
2040.
We have 5,040. So we have 5,040 ways. So we have 5,040 ways. So that is the answer for our number 2. So before we proceed to our next example, I want to answer the questions of Miss Ibiosa. So let's go back first with the linear permutation. Okay, so for linear permutation, paano nga ba natin malalaman if the problem is involving permutation, especially if it is a linear, distinguishable, linear, distinguishable, permutation of n objects taken n at a time, and as well as a circular permutation. So let's have first in linear permutation. So since in our linear permutation, the formula is probability. Permutation of n objects taken n at a time is equal to n factorial. We only need one value, which is the value of objects needed to be arranged. So ibig sabihin, if that is permutation, if the order is important, that is permutation. And if there is only one value, therefore, the type of permutation that we need to use is linear permutation. Katulad ng mga example natin dito, 'di ba? 4 persons in a row, 5 different figurines, meron lang tayong digits, pero isang digits lang siya kung bibilangin natin. Then yung letters, ilang letters ba meron sa chairwoman? Kung to si 10. So we have only the value of n, and that is for linear permutation. Is it clear, Glory?
Opo kayo.
Okay, so what about for distinguishable permutation? Kapag distinguishable permutation, actually, if you look in our questions, sometimes, if you, ganito, sa number, minsan meron silang magkakapareho. Kung kapag yung questions is may magkakapareho or may alike, so therefore, that is a distinguishable permutation. So we have to analyze first the problem in order to identify what type of permutation that is needed to use. And also, actually, in distinguishable permutation, distinguishable word is actually existing. So once you have the word distinguishable, actually some of the problem are having distinguishable words. So if we have the word distinguishable, therefore that is distinguishable permutation. Are we good with distinguishable permutation? Yes, Mr. Paone, you want to say something? Yes?
Add, add
Paone
ko lang
Miguel.
din, add ko lang din sa distinguishable permutation. Sa pag-word problem, kapag may nakita kayong distinct na word or unique, So, underagad siya ng distinguishable permutation.
Ano po yung word?
Distinct or unique?
Distinct or
Unique.
relief?
Unique.
Pakitype nga.
Unique yan. UN. Unique ba?
Unique. Okay. So, okay. Thank you for that additional information. So, if we have the word distinct or unique, so therefore that is part of distinguishable permutation. Okay. Ngayon ko lang nalaman yan. So, next. Distinct. Tama naman. Hindi. Kasi more on distinguishable or more on alike yung nagagamit ko. Malaging may magkakapareho. Okay. Question for distinguishable.
None so far.
Okay, thank you very much. And what about for permutation of n objects taken are at a time? Actually, when we discuss, when Miss Sumayang discuss, or Ma'am Joy discussed the combination, actually it has also combination of n objects taken are at a time. So that is confusing. So all you have to do is to analyze first the problem if order is important. Because if order is important and you see the word at a time, so that is actually part of objects taken are at a time. But again, it is confusing since we have also the combination of n objects taken are at a time. You have to analyze first if order is important. So if order is important and it has the word at a time, therefore that is permutation of n objects taken are at a time. Clear po ba? Yes. And also, we have the term arrange here. Thank you for additional information, Mr. Arnedo. So, you have arrange. Kasi since, di ba, we are talking about the arrangement. And actually, in combination, that is actually selection. Yes, Mr. Domingo, you want to say something?
Parang additional na para ma-distinguish natin yung pagkakaiba ng combination at saka permutation. Ang alam ko meron siyang mga words na ginagamit para malaman natin kung permutation ba yung gagamitin or combination.
Yes. Actually, yung isang word sa ating permutation is arrange. Then, alam ko sa combination, mostly ang ginagamit ay
Select.
selection, select, choose, ano pa? Alam ko yan yon. Pero parang ang focus lang din nung sa permutation is more on arrange. Ewan ko lang kung may other keywords
Ano
pa.
pa yung mga linya ay line, rows, round sa
Yes.
permutation.
Oo nga pala. Line, rows, yung mga ganon. Pasok din siya sa ating permutation. Ano pa? Additional. That's good.
Yung sa position, yung ranking, ang alam ko meron din yung
Repetition is not allowed. Yes, yung repetition is not allowed din po for permutation. So, clear na po tayo sa permutation of n objects taken are at a time.
Yes.
Okay, so let's proceed now with the circular permutation. Where in circular permutation, it is easy to know if the problem is circular permutation because from the word circle. So anything or any word that describes circle is actually part of circular permutation. Like for example, in our example number 1, so we have here the word circular. Although given na that it is circular, so circular permutation. And for number 2, so we have here the word around. Around or round table. And don't get confused kasi baka mamaya ang hanapin nyo lang na word is circle, around, or round. Sometimes they use terms like carousel, trip to Jerusalem, yung mga ganyan na parang kung baga, nagpa-function siya as circle. Kasi di ba yung carousel umiikot siya pa round. Then yung trip to Jerusalem, sorry, kapag nilaro natin siya, actually paikot yan. Tama? So, meron din ganun. Meron pa yung, ay hindi, wag ko sasabihin yun. Malalaman nyo. Mamaya na. Okay, so questions regarding with circular permutation.
none so far.
Ferris wheel, bilog din yon, tama? Ferris wheel. 'Di ba? That is actually round. So, Ferris wheel. So, since there is no question, I want you to try to identify of or on what type of permutation is this one. Find the number of arrangement of a set of the six letters in the word safety taken two at a time. You can raise your hand. Yes, Miss Domingo. Ay, sorry, Mr. Domingo pala, sorry.
English, yung taken R at a time, ayun yung ano niya, formula.
Ano po?
Yung taken R at a time yung kanyang, yung gagamitin na formula sa kanya.
Okay, very good. That is actually permutation of n objects taken R at a time. So, if we're going to use the permutation of n objects taken R at a time, again, what is the formula? So, we have the permutation of n objects taken R at a time is equal to what?
N factorial over
N factorial over,
n minus r factorial.
okay, n minus R factorial. So, what is the value of our n?
2.
6.
6. Kasi
Pala.
we
6.
have 6 letters in the word safety. Next, what is the value of our R?
2.
2.
2. So we can 2 at a time. So if we're going to rewrite this denotion or permutation of n objects taken R at a time, so we can write it as permutation of 6 objects taken R at a time. So without solving using your scientific calculator, ay sorry, permutation of 6 object taken 2 at a time pala to, hindi R at a time.
30.
30. 2 asan na yun? 2 at a time. So what's the answer?
30.
Okay, that's correct. The answer is 30. 'Di ba? Without solving or only using your scientific calculator, we will easily identify the value of permutation. What about this one? Actually, that is actually part of our pretest. So if you still remember, who raised his hand? Sino raised na hand? Yes, Mr. J.
Appreciable permutation.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so that is distinguishable. Although it state that it is not distinguished, but since we have the keyword distinguish, so therefore that is actually a distinguishable permutation. So again, what is the formula for distinguishable permutation? So we have the permutation is equal to
N factorial
n factorial. Ay,
over P factorial,
nakita na.
Q factorial, R factorial, and so on and so forth.
And so on. So if what is the value of our n?
10.
10. Kasi we have to add 5 red balls, 2 white balls, and 3 blue balls. So we have 10. And what is the value of our P? 5.
5.
Kasi merong 5 na red balls. What is the value of Q?
2.
2. Kasi meron tayong 2 white balls. At what is the value of R?
3.
3. Kasi meron tayong 3 blue balls. So if we're going to substitute it to our formula, so we now have 10 factorial all over 5 factorial times 2 factorial times 3 factorial. So the next thing that we need to do, so kaya ba to using scientific calculator?
Yes.
Sige, try nga. What is your answer if you use scientific calculator?
2,520.
Okay, very good. The correct answer is 2,520. So according, sino nagsagot nun? Sino nagsagot nun? Hindi ko narinig. Ay, hindi ko nakita.
Right.
Okay, very good, Mr. Raet. That is correct. That is 2,520. So let's try to solve this. So if we're going to, again, what is the largest factorial or largest number in the denominator? Di ba? We have
5 factorial.
5 factorial. So kapag in-expand natin yung 10 factorial, hanggang 5 factorial na lang tayo. So we have 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 factorial. Then si 5 factorial, wag na natin i-expand. Si 2 at 3 na lang. So 2 times 3, ay sorry. Mali. 2 times 1 rather. So we have 2 times 1 times 2 times 1 times 3 times 2 times 1. So, cancel out. 5 factorial. And ano yung pa yung mga kaya nating i-lowest term? Simplest form rather.
3 tsaka 2.
Yung 3 tsaka 2. Yung
Hypotenuse 1.
simplest form natin siya sa anong number sa numerator?
6.
Sa 6 or sa 8. O, pili kayo, 6 o 8?
6. 6.
Sa 6. So 6 divided by 2, that is equal to 3. And 2 divided by 2, that is equal to 1. Yung 3, meron ba?
Yes, sa 9.
Sa 9. So 9 divided by 3, what's the answer?
3.
3. So 3 divided by 3, that is 1. Eh, meron pa tayong 2 sa denominator. Meron pa ba siyang pwede ipa-simplest form?
Sa 8 or sa
8.
10.
8 or sa 10? O, so saan natin gagamitin? 8 or 10?
8.
8. So 8 divided by 2, that is equal to
4.
4, and 2 divided by 2, that is equal to 1. So now, yung denominator natin, lahat yan ay 1 na lang. So kahit hindi na natin siya isulat. So meron na tayong 10 times 3 times 4 times 7 times 3. So what's the answer?
2520.
So we have still get the same answer, which is 2,520, which is the same with the answer in scientific calculator. So anong gusto niyo, mag-solve o gumamit ng scientific calculator?
Mag-scientific na lang.
Yan.
Mag-solve kasi walang scientific calculator.
Calculator.
Mahalin natin yung asawa natin.
Paano pag walang asawa?
Mga bet. Charot. Okay, let's proceed. What about this one? A roulette is to be sectioned into 12, and each section shall be colored uniquely. If the 12 colors are predetermined, how many distinct roulette patterns can be made? Yes, Mr. Domingo.
Circular.
Kaya ka na. Sige, nasagot mo na pala. Sige, so that is actually circular permutation. Nagtaas kasi si Butak eh. Sayang si Butak sana. Okay, so since this is circular permutation, again, what is the formula for circular permutation? By the way, why it is a circular permutation?
The word roulette.
The word roulette. Kasi ano ba yung roulette in Tagalog?
Ruleta.
Roleta. So, roleta is round, di ba? Roleta is round. So, therefore, this is circular permutation. Paano yung distinct word? Actually, yes, we have here the distinct word. But, as you can see, we have here the word roulette pa rin. And roulette is actually a round. So, kung baga parang ang nangyari lang, panggulo lang dito yung distinct. Kasi actually, this one is part of our pretest also. I think most of you are get confused with the word distinct. Actually, ako hindi na confused kasi late ko na nalaman yung sa distinct, kay Paune ko lang nalaman. But I stick with the word roulette. Kaya circular permutation po siya. Yes. What about the others? Paune, how are you going to defend the word distinct here? You think this is distinguishable or circular?
Circular siya kasi sa first word pa lang naman nakastate na kung ano yung gagamiting tawag dito. Kung saan siya gagamitin.
Okay, so yun. So that is circular permutation. Roulette is to be sectioned into 12. So therefore, we have, again, what is the formula?
Permutation is equal to n minus 1 factorial.
N minus 1 factorial. Where the value of our n is equal to what?
12.
12. So therefore, we have 12 minus 1 factorial, that is equal to 11 factorial. Again, using your scientific calculator, what is the answer for 11 factorial? We have what?
39,916,800.
Okay, very good. So we have 39,916,800. So that is our answer for this problem. So we also have questions. 39,000. Okay, same. Same po sa answer ni Christine. Okay, question everyone. So andito na tayo sa exciting part ng permutation, whereas we actually have, meron pa pala isa. What's the answer for this one? Calling on 3 patients successively for a laboratory test from a pool of 20 patients. Anyone? Any two? Any three? Yes, Arnedo, what's your answer? What is that? What type of permutation is that?
You may take an R at a time.
Okay, very good. That is actually permutation of n objects taken are at a time. Kasi, di ba, calling on three patients successively, which means sunod-sunod, for a laboratory test from a pool of 20 patients. So, based on our experiences, or based on our experience in laboratory or in any, di ba, ang ginagawa naman talaga sa pagtawag is yung pagkakasunod-sunod. Kung kailan kayo pumunta. So, order is important. Hindi naman siya parang sinabi na hindi siya parang random na pinipili or binubunot. Siyempre sa mga pasyente kung sino yung nauna, pero ito ha, sa ano lang to, laboratory test. Kasi baka mamaya 50-50 na, tapos hinuli pa. So that is actually permutation of n objects taken r at a time. And what is the value of our n for this?
20.
20.
20. And what is the value of r?
3.
3.
So if we write it in the notion, that is actually permutation of
20 taken 3 at a time.
20 objects taken 3 at a time. So using your scientific calculator again, what is the answer?
6,840.
6,840.
Okay, so very good. That is 6,840. At least now, mas nagagamit nyo na yung scientific calculator in terms of permutation. Okay, so let's proceed now with the other problems involving permutation. Now, in how many ways can 8 people arrange themselves in a row if 3 of them insist to stay together? So like what Mr. Domingo said earlier, so as you can see, we have here the word in a row. In a row. Therefore, this is an example of permutation. But if you're going to analyze the problem, there's actually 8 people and they have to arrange themselves in a row. But 3 of them is insisting na dapat sila yung laging magkakatabi. So ngayon, I want to show you that, let's say that we have here the 8 people here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So, nasa in a row sila. In a row yan ha, diretso. Ngayon, sabi dyan kasi, yung tatlo, nag-i-insist daw sila na dapat sila yung laging magkakatabi. So, let's say na yung tatlo na yan, lagi silang magkakatabi. So, let's say this one is 1, 2, 3. Tapos ito 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yung tatlo na yan, ang gagawin natin dyan is we will going to count them as 1. Kasi 'di ba lagi naman sila magkakatabi. Kahit mapunta sila sa dulo, sila din naman yung magkakatabi. So we will going to count them as 1. Now, therefore, the value of our n here is, kung we count them as 1, meron na tayong 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Therefore, the value of our n is 6. And we can write it as 6 factorial. Pero hindi pa tayo dyan nagtatapos. Because now, I want to ask you here, between the 3 person who want to sit or insist that they have to sit together, meron pa ba arrangement o wala na?
Yun pa.
Meron pa, right? Kasi si 1, pwede siyang mapunta dito sa dulo. Si 3, pwede siyang mauna. Si 2, pwedeng mauna. Si 1, pwedeng nasa gitna. So therefore, meron pa silang arrangement. Since tatlo sila, we can write them or their n is equal to 3. Therefore, we have to multiply 3 factorial. So, if we're going to use our calculator, what is 6 factorial again?
720.
20.
So we have 720. Multiplied by 3 factorial, what is 3 factorial?
6.
6. So therefore, we have 720 times 6.
4,320.
So we have 4,320 ways. So this is the ways na yung 8 people ay ma-arrange nila yung sarili nila even though yung 3 of them is insisting to stay together. Malinaw? Nakuha ba?
Yes.
Po,
Okay, so kung nakuha, let's proceed with this one. So in how many ways can the letters of the word algorithm be arranged if if the vowel letters are placed together? So paano yung gagawin natin dito? Sa word daw na algorithm, kailangan yung mga vowels na letters are placed together.
Eh, di
So,
yung number
sige.
N niya.
Ano
Yung
po? Ano po?
Eh, di 7 yung ano niya. 7 yung number ng N niya.
Okay, so
So, yung N is
sige,
magiging 9.
let's try to use representation. Ay, ano sasalita pala si ano? Ramon. Yes, ano yun, Ramon?
Yung ano, ako yun na.
Sige, sige, sige.
So, since magkakatabi yung vowels, di ba yung vowels, yung A, E, I, O, tama?
Apo.
Since magkakatabi sila, so count sila as 1. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, yung magiging N is 9.
Okay, so let's see. So let's use the representation, no? Hello? Wait lang. So let's use the representation. So let's get first the vowel. So in algorithm, the vowel is A, O, and I. So dapat magkakatabi na sila. So we have to write A, O, and I. So ano yung mga natira? So we have L. Asan na yun? So we have letter L,
7,
T, letter R, letter T.
7 pala yung magiging N, sorry.
So since according to our problem, so A, O, and I must be placed together. So ito na sila, magkakatabi na sila. And we will going to count them as 1. So tama po yung sinabi ni Ma'am Joy. So we have 1, L is 2, G 3, 4R, 5T, 6H, and M is 6. Therefore, the value of our N for all of this is 6. Now, for those three vowels, meron pa rin ba pwede pa rin ba silang i-arrange?
Yes.
Yes, which is 3, or the value of their N is equal to 3. Oh, is equal to 3. So N is equal to 3. So we can write it as 6 factorial multiplied by 3 factorial. Ala, parang same lang kanina.
7 dapat siya, Ken.
Ay, sorry. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah nga, sorry, na ano ko. Nawala ako. Hindi kasi ng katabi ko eh.
Sabi ko 7 na.
Ito na nga eh. 7 factorial times 3 factorial. So what is the answer for 7 factorial? So we have
5,040.
times 3 factorial. That is equal to? That is equal to what? Oo nga, 6. Ito na nga eh.
3240. 30,240.
So what's the answer? So we have 5,040 times 6 is equal to 30,240. Malinaw? Okay,
Yes
so
po.
naman, let's proceed to the most exciting part. We will see who got the correct answer from the question earlier. So let's say that there are 7 students eating at a round table in the canteen. Jessie, Ariana, and Miggy are really close to each other. That even in sitting, they are always together. In how many ways can you arrange the students? So I want you to analyze first the problem. So what formula or what type of permutations are we going to use or are we going to apply?
Circular.
Circular. Why?
Word
Table. Round table.
Okay, so because we have here the word round table. So we have here the word round table. So therefore, we are going to use the formula of circular permutation, which is the permutation of n objects, permutation of n minus 1 factorial. But let's have first a representation. Parang katulad dun sa ginawa natin kanina sa yung in a row, na meron daw 7 students na gustong i-arrange yung sarili nila, pero yung tatlo nag-i-insist na magkatabi. This time kasi, round table naman siya. So, let's say that we have 7 students in round table. So, let's say this is round. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, let's say, yan yung 7. And sabihin natin na itong tatlo, these three, yan si Jessie, yan si Jay, charot. Yan si Jessie, si Ariana, at si Nikki. Yan yung tatlo. So, we count them as how many again?
1.
One.
As 1.
If we count them as one, we have two, we have three, 4, and 5. Therefore, the value of our n is 5. Kasi nga, we count them as 1. Now, yung ating nasa loob, yung tatlo, meron pa ba silang arrangement? Si Jessie, si Ariana, at si Nikki.
Yes.
Yes.
Kasi pwedeng ito si Jay, si Jessie, si Ariana, at si Nikki. Pwedeng magkapalit si Jessie tsaka si Nikki, pwedeng magkapalit pa si Jessie tsaka si Ariana at si Nikki pwede din magkapalit. So we can write it as n is equal to 3 kasi pwede pa naman silang tawag dito, meron pa silang arrangement. Now, yung ating balang n na 5, yan yung gagamitin natin kasi yan yung total count nila. Kasi kinount natin sila as 1 para i-substitute dito sa ating circular permutation. So, we have the permutation is equal to, yung n is 5, 5 minus 1 factorial, tsaka natin i-multiply si 3, which is yung arrangement pa nilang tatlo. 3 factorial. So, 5 minus 1, that is equal to what?
4 factorial.
4 factorial times 3 factorial. So, 4 factorial, that is equal to what?
24.
4. 24 times 6.
24 times 6,
144.
144.
Tama kami.
So, therefore, the correct answer is letter A, 144 weeks. So, sino yung mga nakakuha ng tamang sagot kanina?
Tama kami, tama ko.
Wala na. Ano daw ako ng tamang sagot kanina? Si Steve, si Christine, si Arnedo. Sino pa ba? Glory, letter A ba yung sagot mo kanina? Ayun. So, I think, congratulations everyone. So, that's the end of my discussion. So, I hope you learned something from me and I hope it is easy for you to solve permutation using scientific calculator, or if you don't have scientific calculator, you can now avoid solving two longs because there is a shortcut where we can cancel out or we can simplify the values in the numerator and denominator. So, is there any question? Valid reaction, clarifications? Okay, Steve. Yes po.
Na-discuss ba yung bakit n-1 yung sa circular permutation?
Opo.
Yan, gala pa.
Ayan, hindi nakikinig.
Ako. Paano example ni Steve kanina? Ano doon?
Ano
Ano yan?
Sige, you can speak. You. It's MK. Anong formula yon? Alin, yung sa linear permutation? Yung sa discuss kasi ni Steve, related yung circular permutation. Ay, linear permutation, which is n factorial lang siya. Na yung i-expand nga natin siya, ito. Na-i-expand lang natin siya para makuha yung sagot. Although, using scientific calculator, we don't need to expand it kasi you just have to type 4, then factorial, equal sign, so you have now the answer.
Ayun pala, pabalik nga sa types mo kanina.
Types. Sige po. Ito po.
Bali, yung permutation of n objects, distinguishable permutation, permutation of m objects taken R at a time, under po sila lahat ng linear permutation kung hindi ako nagkakamali, no?
Oo, under. Pero parang sa kasi, yung sa linear permutation, ang ginagamit lang dito na form, under siya.
Bali,
Under siya, pero magkakaiba sila ng way to solve.
Kasi di ba kapag linear
ang talaga ng
permutation tayo.
ay linear and circular permutation.
Then, tama ba?
Sabi mo? Ulitin mo?
Bali yung types ng permutation ay linear and circular permutation.
Yeah. And then, indistinguishable. Kaso linear pa din siya. Kaya nga, bale, tatlo. Kasi kung yung linear permutation, distinguishable, inalign pa rin naman. Pero kasi yung distinguishable ay iba naman kasi palas na ginagawa. Then yung circular permutation.
Question?
Right. Parang nagkakano naman kayo dyan ah.
Question po?
Yun nga.
Wala na po.
Paulit
Ayun
nga
lang.
Sorry po,
Hindi, di ba, di ba, ano ba kaya, mo, di ba yung, kung ilang types, di ba yung permutation natin?
Wait lang. Sabi kasi ni Steve, yung permutation of n objects, distinguishable permutation, at permutation of n objects taken r at a time is actually part ng linear permutation. Kaya sa types of permutation, there are only two types, which is linear permutations and circular permutation. But yes, that is correct that permutation of n object distinguishable tsaka yung n object is actually part of linear permutation. But we have to differentiate it since all of them have their own formulas to use. So, isa lang lahat pagbibigyan. How about replacement? I have no idea about replacement. Example daw po.
Bigyan ka ng example, tapos tingnan natin kung paano gagawin kung may replacement yung word. Yung may word ba, yung sinasabi mo, Miguel?
Actually, yung replacement, type din siya ng permutation.
Example ka, Miguel?
Bigay ka nga ng may example ka makita. Kasi di ko din yung with replacement eh.
Meron yun,
Sige,
merong replacement permutation. Ano yun? Ano yan?
send mo lang yung problem.
Permutation of n taken r at the same time.
Tapos,
Yun naman yung yung r, i-erase siya sa n.
bigyan ng
Wait lang,
example, Gel.
wala ka sa...
Check natin.
Wait lang,
Hindi
may
ko-
ako dito, may example ako dito. Kaso nasa laptop.
Open si laptop.
Wait lang.
Example dito, wait.
Sige, send mo sana natin. Let's check natin.
Sinong pwede ay, Pao, mag-share ka nga ng screen yung sa natin, nung sa presentation natin sa grade 10.
Sige, share screen.
I-share mo, Pao, yung sa replacement.
Pero alam ko meron. Hindi ko lang ata na
Magkaiba kasi tayo ng mga tinakil sa permutation. Yun yung
Sinend ko
tinatanong ko
sa
sa
GC,
inyo, grade, kung nag-replacement ba kayo, tapos sabi nyo hindi.
Send ko sa GC yung example na replacement.
Ito yun.
Pala to. Akala ko fundamental counting principle siya. Okay, sige. I'll show to them. Let me share my screen first.
Nagganto pala sila. Hindi pala ako nag-recognition.
Hindi, kasi alam ko under to ng ng FCP. Pero permutation pala siya. Kaya wala si Sir to confirm.
Pero ang presentation siya kasi pero kasi yung way kasi nito.
Tayo? Add tayo ng slides.
Hindi lang. Tama nga.
So, wait lang, sulat ko yung problem para So, how many letters? Ay, excited yun. How many 4 letters? Ala, red na tuloy yung nagamit ko. It can be formed with the letters of the set. Permutation to. P, E, R, N, E, E, I. And if we allow to use repeated use the same. So, based from the solution they given, so P or permutation is equal to 11 raised to 4. So, anong ginamit dito na ano? Anong ginamit na permutation? Linear?
Part siya ng ano, part
Linear
siya
pa
ng,
rin yan.
So,
oo,
it's still
linear.
linear. But
Pero
since we
ano,
have to use
permutation of and taken are at the same time. Ang sabi.
repeated use, sige. So, repeated use. So, ibig sabihin, since we have 4 letters and we can, parang masasatisfy na lahat ng letters ay pwedeng maulit. So, we have to write 4 times. So, yung sa first letters, yung sa first letter, second letter, third letter, and fourth letter, since repeated, so sa word na permutation, ilang letter ang meron? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, 11. And since pwede siyang maulit, kaya 11 raised to 4. So, the final answer is 14,641. Sige, try to explain it more. Pwede?
Ay, order ko yung makyat?
Kasi wala akong gantong example since nag ko ng permutation. Yung repeated.
Ay, na basically parang fundamental counting principle lang yan.
Yun nga yun din yung naisip ko. Parang basically, fundamental counting principle lang din siya. Na
Kasi,
repeated.
4-letter codes. Bali, maglalagay ka ng 4 blanks. Then, how many letters? 11 letters. Then, put mo yung 11 kasi nakalagay, repeated is allowed, no? Repetition are allowed. Parang ganon. Bali, hindi siya nababawasan kasi repetition pwede. Bali, consistent siya 11.
Tama.
Ayun nga, ano lang din siya, parang parang FCP pa rin siya, pero type siya ng permutation. Ayun lang siguro yung inaano ni Pau.
Okay.
Na mapakita lang. Kasi types pa rin siya ng permutation.
Ano lang, kumbaga may condition na lang na minimit tayo sa part na to. Kaya ganun. Yes, part pa rin ng permutation, wala lang naman dyan. But kasi, hindi naman.
Si Miss Carla, may nag-raise siya na hand kanina. Sige, Miss Carla, you want to say something?
Question lang po, kung since sinabi niyo naman po kumbaga, 'di ba, kumbaga yung P pwedeng maulit yung hindi po ba siya magiging 10 raised to 4 po kasi since sa term na permutation po, dalawang beses na ulit yung mismong P.
Sa akin, no. It's still 11. Kasi, para lang din siyang sa distinguishable permutation. Let's say, sa distinguishable permutation, we count them as 2 kasi, di ba? So, let's say we have the word noon. So, yung P natin dyan is 2. So, kasama pa rin siya sa bilang. Kasi, dun pa nga lang sa distinguishable, yung N natin dalawa, hindi naman natin sila kinount as 1. Dalawa pa rin siya yung magiging value niya. Yung Q naman, let's say yung letter O, dalawa pa rin din siya. Kasi, wait lang. So, yun, feeling ko yun yung justification na we can count them as pa rin.
Additional, narinig ba? Ang condition kasi ay 4 letters, codes ang kailangan natin ma-meet. Kahit magkasunod yung A, as long we have 4 letters, yan, na-meet natin yung condition, di ba? So, kailangan pa natin i-count as isa-isa. Hindi natin i-count as 1 yung same na letters. Kasi nga, ang condition ay 4 letters, ordered codes. So, ibig sabihin, kahit magkasunod yung A, T, account pa rin natin talaga. Parang kasi ganun yung pagka-identity ko sa problem. Ayun lang. Wala na.
Try natin si... Yan. Ikaw, Tin. Paano mo i-justify to? Since yung TNT nga is pareho.
Wait lang.
Ano yun? Ano yun?
Yung tinatanong ni Carla, if we count
Yung
ba
ano
yung
ba?
T as
Yung,
one since
kasi
dalawa
may
naman
mga
siya.
naulit na letter. Kung
Hindi.
pwede ba siya i-count as one? Sabi?
Hindi.
Ayun ba yun? Ano ba yun? Wait lang, di ko kasi narinig. Ano yung talong ulit?
Yung letter T daw, count as